Hello and welcome to Starting Points, where one thing leads to another. And that's sort of a bit of a theme of this video 186, Joan of Arc. But it's also a little bit of a subtitle, might be History and Knowing the Truth. Not always easy to discern. So, without further ado, last time when I was speaking to you, I spent time looking at Galileo, and I'd used this book, The Life of Galileo, with a 9th grade class, and actually I'd used 6 plays with them. I was charged with having to do European history through the a range up to about maybe 1930, and I had a class of 35 students. Some of them I had taught before in grade 7. Some of them I had taught before in grade 7 and 8. And some of them I'd never taught before. So it was quite a experience. It wasn't just English and history. It was also math and science. And then I had other assignments in other classrooms, grade 8 science, grade 9 math, and in charge of the library. Now that was a treat. Right up my alley in many respects. So let's see. I'm going to use this as I used the life of Galileo as a starting point last time, taking it further than I had done with our students, in that I got interested in knowing more about Galileo, because I'd gotten interested in wanting to know more about, how things work. So now the books we read in order. There was Beckett. Then there was Luther. And then there was a story about Henry, Man for All Seasons. Actually, we used this edition. And then there was Galileo, Major Barbara. Now she was a major in the Salvation Army, play by Bernard Shaw. And lastly, a play called Journey's End. Now, when this is about trench warfare, a play. These were all plays that I'd read before and enjoyed, and it worked out great for me. Now, that didn't mean that I was fully versed in all the history that went on with that. So, and I got thinking about a couple things. First thing I thought about was one thing leading to another, was that these all featured male leading roles, and predominantly the cast were male. And I got thinking, jeepers, well, Major Barbara, yes, but what else? Oh, I knew that Shaw had written a play called St. Joan. And I found my copy of St. Joan. In fact, this copy was in the same printing that I put above the titles as from the library of L.D. Layne. And I said, oh, look, you know, there's Americans too, something a little bit. They're better at fighting than at thinking. Oops. And there's, so I saw these comments that I'd made to myself with ink, mostly, and I thought, cheapers, I don't remember a thing from that book. I can't remember it at all. Because I started reading in it and I said, oh, this is good. This is very nicely done. But I don't remember it at all. So that's one nice thing about reading a book, is that you can read it at different stages in your own life. You can read it when you were in your 20s. You can read it when you're an old-timer. And it'll be fresh and new, and you'll probably see things and understand things that you didn't understand the first time at all. So there'd be St. Joan I could use with female parts. Diary of Anne Frank, I got thinking, yes, there's a play. I have this, the printing small in this, but the printing in the hardcover that I picked up somewhere. Library discard? No? Yeah, library discard. And it's easy to read. In fact, it might almost be too easy to read. It did get more, there's a lot of tenseness, as one can imagine, and a lot of bickering and a lot of coping and it was like a little battle scenes, tiny battle scenes, and well, there it is, if one's interested. And of course, one could read Anne Frank's Diary of a Young Girl. So there's offshoots to that. So St. Joan. Okay, I had 3 books about St. Joan around. This one could be for 10-year-olds, 11-year-olds. Beautifully done. It covers her life. Diane Stanley's done, you know, Leonardo da Vinci, Shakespeare, and other books. She does her artwork for it. And she really does research out and give you lots of details about what's happening. In fact, it's suspenseful. So I think a person at any age might enjoy it in their search for knowing a little more about her. Yeah, there's Michael Maporgo, who's written, oh gosh, a slew of books. And this one's illustrated by Michael Foreman, who often illustrated his books. This is, I'd never read it, but it was around, and I've read it now, and I was so impressed. The first chapter threw me a little bit because it was in modern times and a girl writing an essay about, but then from then on it's into tracing her life and what happens. And I was I was making little notes and things to myself, and I said, oh, I'll read them this, and I'll read them that, and some of them were only a couple of lines, and some of them were large chunks of lines, and I decided, no, I'm just keeping it simple, if I can. Then there was this book. It's called Personal Recollections of Joan of Arc. But it was written by somebody who didn't live at the same time as she did, Mark Twain. And I'd never read it. I got it for $2.50. And I said, this is the time that I'm going to read this. And I still haven't read it all, but I have gotten into it quite a ways, and I like his writing. I like his understanding, his compassion for this character, this person, and I'm have constantly been surprised. And for some strange reason, my mind thought of a book that I read, a long time ago. It's called Her Private's We. It was a First World War novel by someone called Frederick Manning, Her Private's We, and men coming out of the trench. And of course, that reminded me of Journey's End. So if you're interested in First World War, here's two books that I think you might enjoy. Though I'm sure if I started reading this book, it would be like reading a new book. But I remember at the time, what I remember was I enjoyed it. And this book, 1945. So I was thinking of Anne Frank, and I thought, or I just came, I looked and, hey, this book was a fascinating book. It takes place in childhood memories of the war, the Second World War, and it's in France, not Holland, and more in the countryside a bit, and toward the coast, and illustrated, and in many ways widespread fighting. So, you might, yes, you'd think we'd become, have found that it really isn't worth it, all that fighting. Or, well, maybe I'm wrong. But that's my impression after reading about things. Why couldn't we just get along better? Well, thanks for joining me. Until next time, bye for now.